Greetings everyone, this is Connor from Dagura TV, and in this video I want to talk about why I am worried about Fallout 76. So as all of you will know, Fallout 76 has been revealed as the next major Bethesda Game Studios title. It was revealed a week before E3, week to 10 days before E3, then Bethesda took the stage at the E3 press conference and showed off the game to the world, taking us through about 20 minutes of various different stuff, showing us different features, gameplay and etc. And also there's been the making of Fallout 76, which came through Danny O'Dwyer's documentary series on NoClip, which is his documentary production, which is supported by his Patreon, which everyone should go and watch right now. If you haven't seen any of it, you haven't heard of NoClip, leave this video and go and watch Danny O'Dwyer's stuff on NoClip. It's fantastic, and the one about Bethesda Game Studios and Fallout 4 is absolutely fantastic, so go over there and watch it. And that gave us a lot more information about the game, and we really found out what the game's generally going to be about, but there's still definitely a lot of questions to be asked. And all in all, I'm not entirely convinced that I'm going to really like Fallout 76. And I've got a few reasons why I want to kind of share that, and I want to kind of voice my opinions a little bit. I talked in the Fallout 76 information video that I did a few days ago, where I said that this is all the information. I'm kind of trying to hold opinions out, and I want to talk about my opinions at a later date. This is that video where I'm talking about my opinions, and I've seen kind of two reactions really. I've kind of seen, you know, the Fallout subreddit reaction, which is everyone going crazy and, you know, throwing things into the roof and stuff and going like, oh my god, this game's going to be terrible, fuck Bethesda, fuck Todd Howard, you know, fuck Fallout, they're ruining what we like with the series, and the fuck this up and the fucking more things up, it's over kind of thing, the sky is falling, you know, all that kind of crazy stuff. And then I've also seen the other side, where it's like people are being really excited for it, and like I'm looking at both sides of it, and I'm kind of seeing I don't really see kind of how at this moment in point. Maybe I can kind of see the you know, the excited people a little bit more's point of view than the people who are going crazy. Maybe because they just tend to like survival games. But from a Bethesda's fan's perspective, and kind of from my perspective, nothing of what they've kind of said right now has got me massively like umped up, massively excited for Fallout 76 as of yet. You know. And I've kind of got a few bullet points where I'm going to go through that right now. The first one is that I don't like survival games at all. You know, I've tried some, I've seen a lot of information on some, and they just tend to be things that I just like to avoid. You know, I just stay away from the games like Rust and, you know, the original, you know, things like The Forest and things like that. I just don't tend to like what they're about, really. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of, you know, Ark kind of type of game where, you know, you go in somewhere, you're building a base, so you're just basically surviving and trying to get, you know, better guns to make your survival a bit better kind of thing. I think my only real forte into that as like a big where I put a big time sink into it was kind of the survival mode on Minecraft, until we got to a point where it was like, you know, 10 hours into survival mode where we were very much comfortable, and it's like, okay, what are we actually kind of doing now, if that makes sense? And that's one of my biggest worries about Fallout 76. What are we doing in the game? You know, what are we actually doing? Is it going to be like other survival games where we're just surviving for the sake of it, and then, you know, taking out big monsters to get big rewards, then we can get better gear and, you know, kind of bring our character up so that we can take on bigger monsters? Is that tend to be the game? Or is it going to be like, you know, a typical Bethesda Game Studios game, but in a shared world, where, you know, we're finding so many different quests and really good quest lines and everything like that, and good stories? But the big thing that's got me worried about that is that there's no guilds in the game, and there's no no NPCs in the game either. And they're really the grand point of what really, you know, Fallout, you know, in the same, like the sense of Fallout 4, for instance. Let's talk about, like, in Fallout 4, and even Fallout 3, you know, if we want to kind of, and New Vegas. The quest in those games that really stood out is definitely the stuff associated with guilds. You know, even guilds that we couldn't join, because in Fallout 3 we couldn't join guilds. But the quests around those and finding out more information about them, these alliances that have came up and everything, I always found that really fascinating. You know, learning about those guilds and learning about their, you know, how they've come about, and, you know, having theories about them and stuff like that. And I think that's been the most interesting parts of the Bethesda games in general, even, you know, Skyrim and stuff, you know, but with Fallout in particular, I found them fascinating. And this game doesn't have that. You know, I've liked talking to NPCs a lot in Bethesda games, and Fallout in particular, and, you know, learning more about them and learning how they're getting along and how they're surviving. And Fallout 76 isn't going to have that. And I also like, you know, bringing, you know, different companions with me with Fallout 4. I really like the companion system that we've got. And Fallout 76 isn't going to have that, but it does kind of have the player. You know, he's going to have friends with me and stuff like that, and maybe supplementing that in a different way. But all in all, it's kind of got stuff that I really like about Bethesda games in particular, and this one isn't having them, it seems. It says they've got quests and they're given by holotapes and terminals, but, like, in my opinion, in Fallout 4, The terminal quests, by the way, I thought were really, really cool. I thought they were a good kind of innovative step forward from what we kind of experienced in New Vegas and Fallout 3. I think they took those terminal quests that we got in those games and gave a big step forward. But the holotip ones in particular, I just thought were a bit like... I thought the stories in them were a bit shoehorned in. I didn't think they were particularly very good. I thought it wasn't a great way of telling a story either. And I don't know if they're going to get a bit over-reliant on getting robots to tell us stories, basically, about what happened in the past and everything, about the old owners. And, you know, I kind of don't care. I don't care about, like, really what people's lives were like before the bombs hit. I think we've kind of covered that. What I do like hearing about is people's life in the wasteland, and people how they're adapting to it and everything. And with the setting of this game being so close to after the bombs hit, I'm a bit worried that there's not going to be enough lore for me and enough interesting stories for me to hear, you know, for me to read in the game and everything. I feel like I'm just going to kind of get a little bit... kind of undone, because, you know, the same thing with vaults as well. You know, there's not going to be any vaults in the game for us to kind of go in a deep dive and, you know, find out more information about and read the terminals and think about what fucked up stuff went on here. There might be one or two, we don't know, but judging by what we saw on the map, there's barely any vaults that kind of came up on the map, and you could say Bethesda are hiding it, and let's hope that's the case. But of what I'm hearing right now, what I'm kind of, my mind's jumping to, and I could say I'm jumping to conclusions, alarm bells are going off that I'm not really going to enjoy being in this world as much as I have the other games. While granted, I think the game does look a lot better than the worlds of the other games, that doesn't make the worlds any more interesting to me. If anything, the world's really looking good and everything is a fundamental part of obviously walking around and looking at stuff, which, as much as the next Bethesda fan and as much as the solo Bethesda player that I like to be, I like doing that stuff, but I also like knowing that my world has substance to it. And I feel that with the time of the game, if this is set in at the time of the world, I just feel like there's not going to be a lot for me to kind of delve into in the content of the world. I think it's going to be a much less interesting world than what we've experienced before in any Fallout game, maybe apart from the Brotherhood of Steel one, but in all the other Fallout, and maybe Fallout Shelter as well. But, you know, I just want the world to be interesting, and that's kind of what I want Bethesda Game Studios to do with the games, and because that's what they're so good at. And with it being just so empty with regards to people, I'm just worried that that aspect of it isn't going to be there. And also, is there going to be enough quests? That's the thing as well. You know, I want that big... I like getting lost with the amount of quests that I've got. You know, picking quests up every now and then and just looking through and thinking, which one's near me right now? Or, you know, I kind of feel like going near Riften in Skyrim. I kind of feel like getting out of Diamond City for a bit. What kind of quests are there? Or back near where I left the vault. You know, I fancy going back up there and stuff. And I don't feel like it's going to have as many as what we've got before. I like having that huge list and getting lost in it, you know. And now we're going to have that huge list and get lost in it. Well, apparently, you know, Pete Hines has come out and said there's countless amounts of quests in there, but, you know, I feel like when it comes down to it, what they're kind of being a little bit coy on what we're actually going to be doing when it comes down to quest related stuff and story related stuff. What they're not being coy about is talking about, you know, how we can go over and take over crafting workshops, and we've got to defeat a monster to get them, and, you know, we've got to... And, you know, I think the only idea that I've really heard about Fallout 76 right now that's really kind of got me like, oh yeah, that's actually really cool, is the nuclear missile thing. But there's also an idea for that to get abused, you know, because you know that there's going to be some servers where there's going to be players that are going to be dropping those off every, like, 15 minutes, it seems. You know, I feel like there's going to be a lot of areas of the game that can be exploited. And with there not being a lot to do for the kind of the solo player, or what it seems to be, we don't know for certain yet because the game isn't out yet, we haven't played in beta, but what it looks to me right now as, I'm a little bit worried, and I feel like I just need to get my hands on the game just to really kind of either get rid of these worries or cement them in place, basically. I'm also scared of griefing as well, that's another thing. I never thought I'd be worried about that, in a Fallout game, or in a Bethesda game, Bethesda Game Studios game in particular, because at the end of the day, you know, when I'm playing with my friends, I just want to ignore other players in the game. Granted, if we're just going on to do a quest and we see some kind of other players that start attacking us, I feel like there could be moments when it could be really, really cool, you know. But then there's going to be times as well when we could get hunted down, when we just really want to concentrate, because there is a main story in the game. Just want to concentrate on doing parts of the main story. But then if we get, you know, thrown, like, just getting targeted on or a missile dropped on us because we're always showing on the map to people, I'm just going to get frustrated, and I don't want to get frustrated, you know, I just want to kind of experience the game at times, and I feel like they're saying they're trying to balance that, and I feel like one of the decisions that they've made is in the game right now, that they can always see players on the map. I don't think that's going to be a good way for it to be at launch. I'm hoping they get a lot of information in the beta for us to kind of just, you know, like to get a lot of information to really get that tweak right, and really to get that information right of how they want the game to be, because once it gets into the hands out of the testers and into the players, it's really going to be a different ball game. You know, people are going to be so different in how they are in the testing studio. Well, they can test for all the different scenarios. You can never predict, you know, really this game's going to sell millions of copies, what they're all going to do in the game world and how they're all going to react to it in a shared world of a Fallout game where they can always see other players on the map when there's so few of them, and if they're nearby they're probably just going to go off and hunt them. And there is going to be people, there's definitely going to be that sect of Bethesda fans that don't want to be hunted at all and just really want to play the game on their own and maybe want to come back when the private servers there, just make one for themselves. That is going to happen, in my opinion, and I don't want that to be me, because I feel like there's a genuine chance that that could be me as well. And another thing that they're not generally being coy on is, you know, the big monsters that we're fighting and everything, which is all, you know, well and cool, but I'm a little bit worried that that's kind of it, you know? I'm a little bit worried that like, we're just going to be going from big monster to big monster to big monster to set off some nuclear codes, you know, like, I just don't, I feel like that's going to be cool for, you know, for side things to do and, you know, general raids to do as a group. I think that could be really interesting content that's an extra part of the Fallout universe that we haven't played yet. You know, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that they've said that generally could add, you know, to the world, and you could make this a really enjoyable experience. But it's just that if that's kind of all there is to do as a group, like, I'm just gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be like, you know, that's not good. That's not what I want to see. Also, you know, in regards to loot and everything, is it going to be, you know, a kind of game where, you know, if you get there first, you're going to get the loot? Because that's kind of how it tends to be in a Bethesda game. You know, like, once the loot's there, it's only kind of made for one player and they get it. So is it going to be like a responsibility of the group to kind of share it out? Or say, like, if, you know, we're all looking for power armor and we're trying to find, you know, like in Fallout 4, for instance, when we get our first bit of power armor, it's very early in the game. But then in this one, it could be, are they going to change the quest to accommodate groups and everything? I've got so many questions about this game, you know, and I feel like a lot of them haven't really been answered, or the answers that they've gave I've not been 100% convinced by as of yet. And also, the last thing I kind of really want to touch on as well is that I'm not a fan of crafting, just in general. You know, crafting in video games, if it's not the most simple system imaginable, or like it's kind of so like really basic just to kind of get something out of it, I just tend to leave it alone. You know, like the Skyrim system, for instance, I thought it could have been more simple for a crafting system. It was just easy to get stuff done, so I kind of tended to craft a little bit. But then in something like The Witcher 3, when you've got to get recipes and shit, and then going on and fight, I just didn't care. I just left it alone. And, you know, like the settlement building in Fallout 4, I gave it a go in like the first part of the game, you know, and stuff like that, and then I just left it alone. I didn't play it. I didn't leave. I didn't touch the settlement mode again. And it seems that this game is really built around the settlement mode. You know, a huge part of this game is the settlement building, and I don't care. I don't want to do that. You know, that's not something that I want to do in my Fallout games, in my Fallout experience. And I feel like Bethesda are really good at play the way you want to play, so it's never bothered me that it's been in there, because I know that there's been a huge amount of people that in Fallout 4 love the settlement building and really wanted to do that and really interesting stuff with it. And I've seen some pictures of stuff that people have built, and it's crazy what people have been able to do with it, and it's really cool, and they're going to have a great time doing that in Fallout 76. But for someone who doesn't want to play that, and like the Bethesda way of play the way you want to play, am I going to be able to completely ignore the crafting style of the game and not build a base, for instance? Is that something that I'm going to be able to do, or is it going to be such a necessity for me that I have to build just even a small base just to survive, basically? Is that how it's going to be? It's just a lot of questions right now that I feel like, all in all, I do feel that this game could be... I could really like this game. I could do it. It could be a survival game that completely turns my head on it, because it's what has been described as a softcore survival game, and maybe the survival games I've tried in the past have been hardcore survival games and seen of in the past are hardcore, and that's why I haven't liked it. And maybe they're being really coy on the quest because they don't really want to give much away for spoilers. And maybe they will have a real good system for griefing, and it will be really special moments when we meet other players. Or maybe we can just completely ignore crafting. And all that is an ideal scenario which I really hope to be true, but it's just right now at this moment in time I'm worried that Fallout 76 isn't going to be for me, and it could be for other people, and that's 100% fine, but it's just me being completely selfish. I'd rather it be for me and no one else than for everyone else and not for me, if I'm going to be honest with you. And the really hurtful thing that I really come to realisation over was that if this game was showed at a press conference with a different title and wasn't a Fallout game and wasn't made by Bethesda Game Studios, I don't think I would be interested in it. And I think that is really damning and really sad to say, because, you know, I'm going to give this game a go because it isn't one of my favourite series, and it is from my favourite studio, so I'm definitely going to give it a try. But it is just that, like, what they've shown me so far, I'm not hyped for Fallout 76 like some of my friends are, you know, and I'm not all the way down in the dumps. Like, I'm not protesting I'm not going to buy it, you know, like some people I've seen on Reddit and Twitter and stuff. but I am in a position where I need kind of more information to kind of stop me worrying in a way, and hopefully that will come, and hopefully they'll show that to us, you know, in the near future. But let me know how you feel about Fallout 76. Let me know if you're excited. Let me know what you're excited about in the game. If you're worried about it, if you're not interested, just let me know all you can about your personal feelings about Fallout 76 in the comments below. Check out the playlists I've got as well about the other Bethesda Game Studios games. I've got one on the Elder Scrolls and Bethesda news, which is kind of the main I've got the most videos in. I've got one on the upcoming Starfield, where I theorise and talk about some of the ideas I've got for that game, and then also one for the Fallout videos as well. I'm definitely going to be looking at Fallout and talking a lot about Fallout on the channel, as it's being the new Bethesda Game Studios game, and I'll definitely be following and giving my opinions and everything in the future. But also make sure you check out everything that's been confirmed for Fallout 76 video as well. I worked quite hard on that. You know, it actually that video took a surprising amount of time to edit, way more than I thought it was going to be. So I was up at one point, I didn't get to sleep until 4 in the morning, just wanting to get that video finished. And just to bear in mind, I'm not the kind of late sleeper. I tend to go to sleep now around about 11-12 PM, so I was up quite late making that video. So I'd really appreciate if you check it out and give some feedback on it. And also follow me on Twitter at Dagorasi, and I will see you guys for my next video. Goodbye.